Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Education USA webinar of the day. Today, we're thrilled to have with us a representative from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and Sarah will be talking in details with you about the Education USA Academy programs. So, Sarah, welcome. Thank you so much for being tonight with us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Bembenek-Saborio, and I am speaking with you from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. It's morning here, so good evening to you. I'm very excited to have the next short period of time to talk to you a little bit about the Education USA Academy program in general, a little bit about how to prepare for an American university in the event any of you are interested in looking at studying in the U.S., and then also, I'm going to talk to you a little bit specifically about our Education USA Academy here in Madison, just to kind of give you some details about what it is you would expect during one of those programs. So before we get started, just a few kind of housekeeping items. In a moment, I'm going to turn off my video just so that I can kind of be managing the PowerPoint here on my end. But at the end, I'll turn it back on and we'll have question and answer session at that time. However, if during the presentation anything comes up and you have questions, feel free to use the chat feature on the webinar, and I'll be looking at that periodically in the event that there's a question, and I will try to answer them as we go. If you ask a question that I'm going to be answering in the presentation in a little while, I might skip your question just to make sure that we stay on track. And then if there's something that comes up that I did not talk about at the end, I'll make sure to answer any of those questions. So feel free to ask during the presentation if you have questions. Just know that if you ask a question I'm planning on answering, I might hold off on your question until a little bit later. So that being said, like I said, I'm going to shut off my video and we are going to get started. So, as I mentioned, I'm very, very excited to have the opportunity to talk to you today about Education USA Academy and also how to prepare for an American university. I am the lead Education USA Academy coordinator here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. This picture that you see on this first slide is a picture of our university. So, on a very beautiful day. It doesn't look like that right now. Right now, we're covered in about 2 feet of snow and ice. But in the summer and the fall, that's what it looks like. So let's move on to the next slide, assuming my slideshow is going to work here. There we go. So before we get started, I just wanted to give you an idea of where I'm speaking to you from, since I'm guessing many of you probably don't know where Madison, Wisconsin is. Here you can see this is the state of Wisconsin. We're located in the Midwest region of the U.S. We're obviously very near the Great Lakes in Canada. And on this next slide, you'll see that we are quite close. Madison itself is the capital of Wisconsin, and we're quite close to Chicago. So I'm guessing most of you are familiar with Chicago. We're about 2.5 hours north of Chicago. We're also about 4 hours from Minneapolis, St. Paul, or the Twin Cities in Minnesota. So in the winter, we have very cold, snowy winters, but in the spring, summer, and fall, we have incredibly beautiful weather here in the Midwest. So before we get into kind of the main part of the presentation, I wanted to take a few minutes and just kind of introduce to you what an Education USA Academy is, in the event that you aren't familiar exactly with what an Education USA Academy program is. So starting with the first point is an Education USA Academy program is a program that's an academically focused program with college preparatory content. So the purpose is to provide students ages 15 to 17 from all over the world, so these are very diverse programs, to offer these students the opportunity to have a college preparatory experience in the United States. There are 15 host institutions around the U.S. that are offering these programs. So UW-Madison, where I work, is one of these 15 institutions. Every institution's program varies or is slightly different. So they might be different in the length of time that they last. They might be different in kind of the themes that they organize their program around. as well as when exactly they happen. Most of them, of course, are happening in the summer. There are 2 institutions that offer winter programs, but most of them are in the summer at different times throughout the summer. And so, there's a variety of programs to choose from based on kind of what your interests are and what your budget is and what your timeline is.
Okay, folks, seems like Sarah has just had a technical issue. She's getting right back online. So we're going to continue momentarily.
All right. Is it working, Liz?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, let's see. It seemed to kick me off. Let's see, there we go. All right, does that work?
Yes, fantastic.
Okay, great. So just to backtrack for 1 second, in addition to the academic component, there is a social and cultural component as well, and the opportunity to learn about campus life. And then there's the website here in the bottom. So this is a great resource, the www.edusaacademy.org. And this will provide you with the opportunity to kind of learn about the program as a whole. And then, like I said, kind of look at each of the 15 institutions individually and see kind of which one seems to make the most sense for your goals. So now I'd like to move into kind of the main part of our presentation, which is going to talk about how to prepare for an American university. So it's very possible, I imagine, that some of you are potentially interested in either undergraduate or graduate work at a university, or maybe just a study abroad program. Of course, EducationUSA Academy is also on your radar. And so I want to take a little bit of time to kind of give you an introduction into the opportunities for higher education in the US, and then how you would prepare for those. So let's start by looking at just kind of what we're going to talk about for the next couple minutes. We're going to first look at types of institutions that there are in the US, and then how to get ready for those institutions. And then we'll go kind of towards the end into just a case study per se, a look at UW-Madison specifically and our EducationUSA Academy, because again, those are the 2 that I'm most familiar with, and so it'll give you kind of a general idea of what you could expect. So let's move on and talk about the types of institutions for higher education here in the US. There are kind of 3 major categories for institutions of higher education. The first is a community college. The second is a liberal arts college, and the third is a university. And I'll talk about each of these individually to kind of give you more details about them. So looking first at a community college is typically an institution that offers 2-year degrees, and some of those degrees will lead directly into a career, and some of those degrees are more transfer degrees that will then go into a 4-year college or university. So many times students will choose this if they are, for a couple of reasons. Number one, they tend to be more affordable. And so some students maybe who have to pay for their own university or need some kind of more financial, I guess, support might go to a community college first. And then they can transfer those credits into a more expensive, typically, university. They also provide workplace development and skills training. So a lot of times there are certain careers that you can pursue here, and you don't need to go on to a university, and you'll get your skills and development training at the community college. There are some careers, as I mentioned, that you only need a 2-year degree for. An example being a construction manager, a nurse, a dental hygienist, or an electrical technician. So these are all examples of careers you could pursue with a 2-year degree from a community college. Now let's look at a liberal arts college. So these are four-year institutions, and they provide undergraduate degrees. So these tend to be smaller in size when you compare them to a university. Not always, but most of the time, liberal arts colleges are smaller. And they're quite uncommon internationally. So that's why I think it's important to understand what they do, because they're not so common around the world. They tend to focus on undergraduate work and not so much graduate work. And a lot of times they offer education in a broad range of academic areas. And an example of some degrees that you might pursue from a liberal arts college would be things in sciences or arts or humanities. Now let's look at universities. So this is UW-Madison, for example, where I am speaking to you from, is an example of this. So universities are four-year undergraduate, and then they also offer graduate programs and are typically quite research focused. So at the UW, as an example, we offer a lot of research opportunities, and that's a large focus, and most universities are the same way. So many times universities have national name recognition. You would have heard of them, in other countries and around the world. They tend to have much larger enrollment sizes than a liberal arts college. They're very focused on research, and they have many times colleges within them. So what we mean by that is there'll be a business college at a university, or an engineering college at a university, or an education college at the university, where it's like this very large program within and department within the university itself. So we've talked a little bit about types of. If you were interested in these kinds of institutions, how would you go about getting ready to prepare for these and apply for these? So I think the first thing that's really, really important to understand if you're interested in pursuing any sort of degree at a higher institution in the US is most institutions take a really holistic view of the student when they are applying. So what we mean by that is they don't just take into consideration your test scores or your academic performance, but they really want to look at a variety of things. Things such as a personal statement and kind of you describing yourself and your aspirations or your goals and why it is that you want to attend this particular institution. They take a lot of look at, or they place heavy emphasis on extracurricular activities. So these are things that you do beyond academics. So do you do volunteer work, and have you consistently done volunteer work, right? Not a one-time volunteer activity so you can put it on your application, but are you someone who's been involved kind of regularly in volunteering? Are you involved in some sort of sports groups? Have you worked outside of school? Maybe you had to work to help pay for things as you were going through school, and that's very important because it shows that you're able to balance academics with kind of some real life requirements, and universities and institutions look at that and find that valuable information. They also look at the curriculum you took. So they want to, see what classes you chose and how that might contribute to you as a person. And then of course, like we said, the kind of more traditional things of your GPA or your grades and then your test scores. So all of these are very, very important when you're thinking about applying to an institution. These are things you need to think about ahead of time, right? The test, it kind of comes at the last minute, but extracurriculars and things, those kinds of extra activities you need to prepare for in advance and kind of get involved in advance. As far as getting ready for college, some other things you need to think about. 9th through 12th grade here in the US is when students really, really start to focus on studying and making sure they're earning good grades, because those are the grade levels that institutions will look at when you apply. Again, we already talked about the importance of getting involved in those extra activities outside of school. Things such as music, sports, leadership groups, volunteering. It doesn't have to be by any means. You don't have to get involved in everything, but you need to get involved in something outside of academics. You need to study hard, of course, for the tests. There's the ACT and the SAT. As far as which one is the right choice, what I have seen over and over and read over and over is the test, it's a matter of kind of two things. Number one is depending on the institution you want to attend, some of them will only accept one test or another. Most of them will accept both. But you need to first determine which one you have to take. And if you have a choice, then the recommendation is that you try both. You do kind of a sample of both and decide which one is a better fit for how you take a test. Of course, you want to choose the one that you perform better at. And then you need to, of course, understand the application process and make sure you hit all the deadlines or meet all the deadlines for all the paperwork that you have to submit. So here are some typical, this kind of slide talks a little bit about the typical admission requirements that you would see at an institution. So you'll have to provide a transcript or kind of a record of your grades, again, from 9th through 12th, essentially high school. Test results, essays and personal statements. Typically it's an essay or a personal statement. Letters of recommendation. So these will often come from, again, if you're involved in some sort of volunteer outside organization, it can be a coach or a leader of that organization. It can be a teacher, somebody who can speak to your character and kind of your commitment to education. A resume sometimes, or a CV. And then other miscellaneous items. And these miscellaneous items depend on what kind of field you're interested in. So as an example, if you're an art major, you might have to submit some portfolio of your artwork. If you are a music major, you might have to participate in an audition. If you are a writing or English major, you might have to submit some writing along with your application to be accepted into a particular program. Okay, so I want to just take a brief pause here. We are about to move into kind of more of the case study of UW-Madison, but I wanted to see if there were any questions at this point about types of institutions in the United States or kind of the process for getting ready and what you have to consider as you're getting ready to apply. Okay, then we will move on to first looking at UW-Madison, just again to give you an example of what the EducationUSA Academy programs might look like for you. So first looking at Madison, I want to emphasize, and this applies to every institution who hosts an EducationUSA Academy, that you are welcome here. I think it's very, very important to recognize that many times we hear things on the news or we might read things online that may indicate that certain areas of the country or certain places are not as welcoming as maybe they should be. And I really want to kind of crush that stereotype and say that the institutions that are open to EducationUSA Academy are incredibly welcoming. We embrace diversity, we embrace students from all over the world, and we're very, very excited to be able to host you at one of our academies this summer. So giving you a little taste of what Madison is like. Madison is located on an isthmus. So we are surrounded by lakes, and then kind of our main strip of land falls between two of those lakes. This is our, you can see in the lower corner, this is our state capitol building. We are the capital of Wisconsin. And this street you see coming down from the Capitol is State Street. It's one of our most popular streets that connects the downtown kind of, and it's got lots of shops and restaurants. It's a really cool place to hang out. We're very well known for our football team, our American football team. Madison itself is consistently rated as one of the best places to live in the US, and that takes into account a variety of factors, including safety, quality of living, kind of cleanliness of the environment. So Madison's really a great place to be. It's the fourth safest city in America, according to the FBI this past year. And it's a very liberal, progressive, and active community, in particular in immigrant rights. So again, kind of going back to that, we're very welcoming of diverse groups of people and international students and communities, and we're very supportive of those groups. And because everyone's always interested, our program runs in July, and so our July temperature is beautiful, as are all the institutions undoubtedly have great weather during the summer when they're offering their programs. So as far as UW-Madison goes, we have an enrollment of about just under 44,000 students, and we offer 9,166 courses. And we have 232 different undergraduate majors and certificates, and 28,000 pre-college students. So if you're coming for an EducationUSA Academy, you would fall into this pre-college student category. These students are, of course, not all on campus at the exact same time, but in the summer, there are many, many thousands of pre-college students here. And so it gives a really nice opportunity for EducationUSA Academy participants to interact with students from the United States who are here for other programs and really develop relationships with people who are around your age and living on campus as well. As far as UW-Madison's international recognition, just to give you a little idea of kind of where we stand as far as our rankings, we are 6th in national research rankings and 27th in world university rankings. And this past year, I should say, we were ranked 12th as far as top public universities, or I'm sorry, top public schools. So what I'd like to do now is transition into our last part, which talks just briefly about the EducationUSA Academy, specifically at UW-Madison. And again, there are 15 institutions that offer a variety of programs that all vary slightly. And so this will just kind of give you a taste of what one of those programs looks like. And then the website I provided earlier would give you information on all of the other institutions' programs. So I think it's first important to know what you can expect to get out of your, in our case, 3 weeks at UW-Madison for an EducationUSA Academy. The first and most important, I think, is lifelong friendships. Like I mentioned, all of these programs, the EducationUSA Academies, are diverse programs pulling students from all over the world. So you'll get the opportunity to really meet a diverse group of people and spend 3 or several very intense weeks with them and really develop great relationships with them. You'll be living with us in Lakeshore dorms. So our dorms are right along the lake. It's a beautiful setting. There's running paths and different areas for recreation. And so you'll be rooming with someone from the program. And as I mentioned earlier, there are lots of other pre-college programs happening at the same time as our EducationUSA Academy. And these are just a few, these are 4 programs that are running at the same time as us that we tend to collaborate with quite a bit. So what's neat is these programs will work with them multiple times. So it's not like you'll meet these students once and then never see them again, but you'll get the opportunity to attend some classes with them, have some social activities with them, attend some weekend excursions with them. And so it gives you a nice opportunity to kind of meet students on campus outside of our program as well. Madison is very, very well known for having an outstanding summer. We have lots and lots of cultural activities, festivals, music festivals, food festivals, concerts. This is an example of our university band and one of the festivals that they have. We also incorporate in the evenings and on the weekends lots of social activities to get you to experience Madison and see what Madison's like. This is an example of our union. The union is kind of a building where people go to hang out. It's along the lake. In the summer, they have free concerts and movie nights. And so people often, and we would go there and spend some time there. And it's a really beautiful place to be. Now, what else can you expect to get from EducationUSA Academy at UW-Madison? And any institution for that matter, is personal growth and independence. So of course, this opportunity participating in an EducationUSA Academy gives you the chance to, you know, leave kind of your comfort zone, go and experience living in another country on a university campus. And so it's going to give you a lot of opportunity to grow as an individual and become more independent. For our program in particular, when you decide to participate in the UW-Madison EducationUSA Academy, you get the opportunity to choose one of 2 tracks. And these tracks are kind of based on your English level and what you're hoping to do during your 3 weeks here. So I'll talk about them in detail, but the first is the career exploration track, and the second is the intensive English for college preparedness track. So the career exploration first is meant for near fluent speakers of English. So if you speak English exceptionally well, this would be the track that you would want to choose. And typically what will happen, or what you'll experience during this track, is you'll get to participate in lots of faculty and staff-led workshops and topics in different fields. So it really gives you kind of an exposure to a variety of careers and fields, and helping you to kind of think about what it is that you think you want to do and what your strengths are and how that would match up or align with a potential career. You'll also have the opportunity to participate in student panel discussions and sit in on student panel discussions with students from the university. And you'll be able to talk to them about academic success and questions specifically related to the majors that they're pursuing.
Sorry, folks. Looks like there has been an issue with the internet connection again, but Sarah is back, so give us a sec and we'll return to you.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, Sarah, we can hear you, so feel free to share your slides.
Great. Let's see. Let me, sorry, let me go into share slides. Okay, all right. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, thanks everyone, sorry about that. So we were talking about the intensive English for college preparedness, and the English curriculum will be under the thematic of leadership, critical thinking, and problem solving. And the reason we chose those themes is studies have shown that if students want to be successful in higher education, they need to be able to really have strong soft skills. And soft skills are the skills of leadership, working in groups, solving problems, thinking critically. And so the English curriculum will be centered around those themes to not only improve your English, but also to kind of help you prepare for improving those soft skills you'll need to be successful. And then it'll be very, very communicative also. So there'll be lots of presentations, negotiations, discussions of topics related to success on an American campus. So I want to take a minute now to just show you an example of a typical day in the EducationUSA Academy at UW-Madison. This is just a sample, but as you can see, in the morning is where we have those two tracks. So if you choose career exploration, your morning is spent in those workshops. If you have intensive English, then your morning is spent in English courses. At lunch is when we all come back together. And in the afternoon, we have a university workshop component. And again, all of the host institutions for EducationUSA Academy will be providing you with a lot of opportunity to learn about higher education in the US. So you'll learn about, as an example, the admissions process. You will be having site visits to other institutions. So in Madison, you'll be attending a community college. You'll be touring a liberal arts college. So you'll have the opportunity to see different higher education institutions in the US. And other academy hosts will be providing you with the same opportunities. And then into the later afternoon and evening will be a lot of that social and cultural component I talked about, where we'll work with other pre-college groups on campus. We'll do different activities, and it'll also give you a little time in the evening to kind of relax and prepare your homework for the next day, check in with your parents, and make sure you're set to go for the next day's activities. As far as what else you can expect to get from EducationUSA Academy at UW-Madison, on the weekends, we really try to fill your weekends with opportunities to learn about what's so great about the Midwest region. So examples of activities we would participate in include the farmers market here in Madison. We have one of the best farmers markets in the country. It runs all summer long, and it's an amazing, amazing thing to attend. So we would be participating in that. We would also be attending the Art Fair in the Square, which is a once-a-year event that happens during the Academy session. We'll be taking you to Chicago and spending a day in Chicago, checking out Millennium Park and the Art Institute, and getting some time to explore Chicago. We'll also be going to a water park about an hour north of Madison. Is a city very well known for its water parks, and so we'll be going there. And then we'll also be doing some hiking at a state park that's nearby and is incredibly, incredibly beautiful. Now, as far as what else you can expect, I think it's really important, and I myself am a parent, so I can appreciate the importance of making sure parents that our children are safe. It's important for you to understand here at Madison, the team that will care for your student, we're an incredibly fun, caring, and responsible group of people. I myself am in the middle here with a couple students from a previous program. My two directors, Christine and Monique, are here on the left side of your screen. And together we work to make sure everything is coordinated. You'll have an English teacher as well as counselors there to take care of the student. We'll kind of be your family away from your family while you are here at Madison. There will also be 24/7 counselors available. These counselors will be here to help with homesickness, helping the students get involved in different activities that are available, and then of course finding their way around. They'll be taking them to the courses and the different activities they'll be involved in. University Health Services will also be a service available to the students. So for the last 3 years, actually, UW-Madison's health service has been named the best in the country. We have really exceptional healthcare staff to take care of our students, and they have 24-hour access to that. They can go at any time to access the clinic, physical or mental health issues that they might experience while they're here in Madison. We also have the UW-Madison Police Department. This group of individuals, of course, their job is to keep us safe. But what I love about Madison in particular is they do community-based policing, which means that they're very active in our community. They're very present. They'll be there to greet you on the first day, so you know who they are. You understand they're very approachable, and here, kind of a friend within the community if you have any sorts of questions. And then we have our pre-college council here on campus. Their role is to really just make sure everything is taken care of for all of our minors and pre-college programs that we have here on campus. So I want to just wrap up by giving you some final details about our academy and just kind of registration information, and then we'll open it up to any sorts of questions you might have about Education USA Academy in general, or applying to an institution in the US, or of course, Education USA Academy in Madison. So our particular program runs from July 1st to July 19th of this upcoming summer. And students who apply would arrive on the 29th or 30th, and then they would depart the evening the program ends or the next day. The tuition for our program is $4,995, and applications and deposits are due on the 10th of May. Now, again, just as a reminder, for all institutions, it's meant for ages 15 to 17 who are native or non-native speakers of English and who have an intermediate to advanced English level and who reside outside of the United States. Now, as far as the application process goes for Madison, on our website is an online application and personal statement you have to submit, as well as a recommendation form from an English instructor or somebody who can attest not only to your kind of maturity and ability to live abroad for 3 weeks by yourself, but then also can talk a little bit about your English skill. And then a $500 non-refundable deposit. Madison is, our Education USA Academy is offering a group discount for students up through March 30th. So there's kind of 2 parts to this discount. The first is you need to, if you would register for the program with 2 or more friends, so groups of 3, and you write those names in the referred by section of your application, you can earn a 3% discount off of the base tuition. And then if that registration of the 3 of you happens before March 30th, you can receive an additional 2% off the base tuition, so a total of 5% off your base tuition. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for taking time to listen, and thank you for your patience with a few of the technical difficulties. But I'm more than happy now to take some time to answer any questions you might have. And yeah, I'd love to hear if you have anything else you'd like to know.
Okay, well, it doesn't look like we have any questions in the room so far.
All right, let's see.
But I guess one of the important questions that just popped into my mind that you are probably able to elaborate on is what is included in the tuition for the Education USA Academy, right? Because this is one of the questions we get a lot.
Yep. So as far as tuition, the tuition includes essentially everything you need once you arrive to, in our case, Chicago or Madison. So all of the programming, the room and board, so all meals, all housing, all of the field trips I mentioned, so like Chicago, Devil's Lake, the water parks, all of those are included. Insurance is also covered, so students have excellent insurance coverage while they're participating in the academy. And then, of course, all like transportation during the program. We also do pick up and drop off students from the airport if they fly into Chicago or Madison. So really what is required by the student beyond tuition, above tuition, is that they, of course, need to cover their own visa fees, as well as the airline ticket to arrive to Madison. If they would want spending cash, of course, that's something they would also need to bring. But really, all that they would need to participate in the program is covered in their tuition that you saw on the screen.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah. see.
Okay, well, it seems there's no
Right.
more questions coming through the chat. So thank you very much, Sarah, for providing this
Yeah.
information. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And I'm more than happy to ask questions if people want to, direct questions to the email about the Academy in general or about our program specifically. I'm more than happy to help out.
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks so much.